The best of money matters. Right Business.
Welcome to The Right Business, where we dive deep into the stories of trailblazers who dare to disrupt the status quo, find the gap in the market to find the right business. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Now, more parents are turning to tuition just to keep the peace at home, often because they simply don't recognize the way their children are being taught today. With changes like video-based oral exams and evolving classroom formats, it can be overwhelming for parents who've been out of the system for years, and that disconnect doesn't stop at schoolwork. According to Meltwater's 2025 Trends Report, social media habits are now split by generation. Children are going up on TikTok and Instagram, while parents remain on platforms like Facebook and WhatsApp. The result, even how we talk about school and learning, is happening in different digital languages. So how can parents bridge the widening education gap without burning out? Well, our next guest is looking to bridge the gap between how children learn today and how their parents once did. Joining us today to share more is Lily Chu, who is the founder of Lil But Mighty. Hi, Lily. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. Lily, as both an educator and a mother of 4, what moment made you realize there was a real need for a business like Lil But Mighty?
Well, I guess I can recall, right now, actually, the school-weighted assessments for children, I think if you're a parent listening in, the term WA will be something that's really familiar. Mm-hmm. So this is actually just like a part of the checkpoint test that has just passed. Mm-hmm. And I think if you are a working parent, you'll probably sense that coming home and you are still thinking about how you are preparing your child for these examinations, that's actually something that's really daunting. Mm-hmm. And I think the moment came for me when I think my children, they officially have to take the first WA, which is at primary 3. And at that moment, when I looked at the amount of science revision I have to do for my child for the first time at the end of P3, I really felt that what I'm doing, it really will help parents and to navigate and to have that consistent practice throughout the year, so that hopefully by the time when we are really preparing for this major examination for the child at that point, it is something that is less daunting and there is a purpose in what we are doing.
Okay, so what challenges did you face when first starting out, and how did your personal experience as a parent shape the way, Lil But Mighty was built?
So we started out almost 10 years ago. And at that time when we just began, I was doing it pretty much alone. I was teaching, I was crafting the curriculum. And at the same time, we also already have an online community because we believe very much in crafting content that will help to support parents, to support their children. So I think there were quite a lot of new things that I was juggling with, as well as getting into the new routine. And of course, at that point, I do have a toddler who's about a year old plus. So I think altogether, those really felt like challenging times because there were many nights where I have to put my child to sleep and after that continue to work at night just so that, everything can just continue to run the following day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we've spoken about the generational gap in education earlier in my introduction. What are some specific ways today's classrooms are different from what many parents remember?
So where do I even begin? Because, as a parent of my eldest is 11 this year, and looking at, the kind of assignments that he has to do in school, that includes my 9-year-old and my 7-year-old. All of them, they actually have assignments which are very much related to technology these days, and it's actually really common. So having to upload voice clips that they have recorded, using tools like Kahoot, the school learning platforms, Canva. All these are tools that they've been taught to use. And I think as a parent, if you're not familiar with this, and when your child who's very young comes to you seeking help, it can be very overwhelming. So I'll say the use of technology and the tools that we use for education these days, that's definitely one big difference compared to when we were in school, and most of which I think is still very much, hard copy of books, the OHP.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll say that's one. Another one would actually be, as a teacher, I can see that the parental involvement has definitely increased. So, and because every parent is different, ultimately. So you will see that there are parents who are extremely involved. They are very aware of what's going on in school and they want to be involved. So they have lots of conversations with teachers and always reaching out. But at the end of the spectrum, you also have parents who are very comfortable leaving it to the teachers because they believe that the learning approach now should be, children being able to perhaps be more empowered, to take ownership of their learning. So I would say this will be another difference that we see in the classrooms today. And if I have to think of one more, I would say even the communication styles is probably different. So between educators and teachers in the past, the way that teachers are regarded by parents is very different from how I think these days a lot of activities, I think schools do try to make it more learner-centric. So even the way that activities are conducted in class or initiatives from students, these are things that the schools will try to create opportunities for. And that's where, the communication as well for parents, they will have to be aware of such, differences in order for them to communicate well with the teachers, to know what's going on in school. So I think I can go on, but I'll say these are just a few.
I mean, it is definitely different. I'm not a mother yet, but just having you describe what the differences are, when I was younger, I didn't even have all of those as well. I mean, learning Canva and Kahoot, I'm learning it on the job, right? And I think one thing that really intrigued me when I was on social media as well, I don't know about Singapore, but the way that kids now sing the ABCs is different from back when I and everyone else learned it. I think the part about the LMNO, we like speed it up, but now they've divided it is an LMNOP, blah, 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 blah.
There are many variations
there's a variation. So I was very intrigued. And that's not the ABCs that I remember. So basically there is this huge generational gap in education as well. So how does Little But Mighty help parents navigate those changes without making them feel like they need to relearn the whole system?
So as a parent, it is actually really important for us to recognize what is the role that we want to play when it comes to our children's education. So for me, I've always believed that my role as a parent is to build a relationship with my children. And I think that pretty much shapes how I want to view my involvement in their education. So I feel these days you do have a lot of parents who are aware that, in order to support their children, they do want to know what's going on in school. So that actually determines the degree to which they feel they need to know. But I would say as a parent who, supports, but in a way which also do not feel like I have to pressure myself to know everything or to be the expert of every single subject, the bare minimum for me is for me to at least know maybe what will be the exam format for each subject.
Right.
Because I think knowing that allows me to jump in and check in with my children very quickly. For instance, one major change that I think I've shared this before is for Chinese oral, there is actually a video component now. And that's definitely different from the past where we're just given a picture and we describe it. So having this video component, I'll be keen to ask my child, I heard there's like a video component, how are you doing with it? Do you need any help? So for a child to see that their parent is vested in their learning, they care enough to actually find out what's going on, and it's really coming from an angle of wanting to support, it makes a difference. I feel to motivation as well as how the child sees, studying and relation to the parents. So I would say that should actually kind of determine how much a parent should know. And of course, if a parent really does see that, they have the bandwidth and the time to dedicate to the child in guiding them more closely, and that's definitely not wrong, then I'll say there are many resources, thankfully, these days. So from forums that are online to the parent support group, you have a lot of this where they actually readily share information. And even at Little But Mighty, for us, we hold webinars for parents to share about, say, the latest PSLE changes for English. We also have our online community, which I've mentioned. And of course, different modes of learning, like the online courses and things like that. So I think for a parent who's really keen, they will see that they have such resources to just be aware of how different things are and what is it that they might want to know in order to better support their child.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big concern and worry for parents, especially if their child comes up to them and they're like, I need help, and they don't know how to help them. It's, it's not that they weren't educated, it's just that the education system is so different.
The requirements are different now.
So Lily, I understand that you see tuition not as a crutch, but as a form of support. Can you share more about that philosophy and how it shows up in your programs?
So I think when we talk about support, the idea is that the child has already learned, certain topics or, like in English, they know about comprehension, the different components. However, what we want to do is how can we actually refine this process of learning for them to help them perhaps be more effective at the way they look at maybe a certain component or tackling a certain question type. So at Little But Mighty, we focus a lot on making English fun, serving English that makes them happy, because we want to build their confidence in being able to answer certain question types, and also to see that the skills that they learn for English, it really extends beyond just assessment, but it's really to help them to be effective communicators and to be curious about how English is so relevant in their lives and pay more attention, I guess, to how the way English is being used around them. So I would say that, helping them to just see that, having that support means that they can grow in confidence, that maybe they are already moving along, but how is it that we can also help to give them, that step forward? I think that will be really what our mission would be at Love Almighty.
Okay. Well, then how do you strike a balance between academic results and emotional well-being in your teaching model?
I mean, definitely these days, the way that education is viewed is very different from the older generations, because I think, the younger generations, to them, when they talk about education, the view is also, very much, what self-development, emotional well-being, and also what's the purpose and meaning of studying, where does education lead me to, right? Sometimes it seems like a future that's too far ahead that you can't even really see it right now. So I think right now for us, the whole idea is also that we just want to ensure that for them, when they are with us, they'll be able to see that meaning, and that we'll be able to support them that way. And I think be able to just help them see that they're not alone in this.
Well, at home, it seems like you encourage your children to manage their own study schedule. How do you foster that kind of independence while staying involved?
So I would say the irony in a way is actually the less involved you are, sometimes the more involved they will be.
Okay.
So I think, at least, for what's working with me and my boys would really be the idea that I trust them. So I provide them, my husband and I, we provide them with the tools, with, the resources that they may need. But we also make it clear to them to articulate to us how do they see that, they can arrange their schedule. So for instance, if a weekend is coming up, so I may be asking them, when do you intend to complete your school homework, which will be your tuition homework that you have, and how do you plan to allocate, your time? And of course, I'll let them know that, oh yes, and just to let you know, Saturday there's a party coming up, and Sunday, yes, we are good that day. So you have your, relaxation time as well. So do let me know what you want to do. So I think when I put it across to them that way, they come to see that, okay, I will split my time this way across the 3 days, and usually they do deliver. But of course, there will be times where, maybe they are overconfident in the way they plan it. They left too much towards the end and they struggle, they may be panicking. But those are also teachable moments for parents, because I think it is when you process with the child after that they can see the next time that they are going to do this, how can they schedule their time better and to learn from, what might not have worked out this time around. So I do see that, really letting them have the opportunity to take ownership, to be involved in their own schedules, it actually will work out well for them.
That really helps them learn their time management skills, which is a very important skill when we are older and something we are never taught and we always fail at doing. Well, then what advice would you give to parents who feel guilty for not being able to do it all when it comes to their children's learning?
I'll say show some grace to yourself, because again, going back to the idea of really what is the role that we want to play with our children, if recognizing that, the results that we want to see, the academic achievement, is really not going to be the main focus of what you want for your child at the end of the day, and that the relationship that you have is lifelong, then I think that will also govern how is it that we want to see our involvement. So I don't think anyone can do it all. And we need to come to accept that, and I think that will really make everything easier, because with the time freed up that for things that you cannot do, then actually you will be using the time more meaningfully in other ways to connect with your child. So I would say, which would you prefer, and what is it that will yield the results, the impact that you want in your child's life? That will probably help you to decide, and at the same time, I think take some of the guilt away. It will still happen. It definitely will. Even as a mom, some days, I still remember when my child was in kindergarten, and there are certain days where they get to wear party clothes, and I miss the memo. And when we're at a bus stop, everybody's in party clothes except my child. That's instant mom guilt. But, I do apologize to my child at the end of the day. I ask whether he's okay that, he didn't dress up that day. And I think because they understand that these conversations have been going on, they know I'm doing my best for them. And most of the time he may say, I was a bit disappointed, but it was okay. I know that you didn't mean it. And I think that encouraged me very much as a parent as well.
Even if you cannot do it all, no one can do it all. But in the children's eyes, you guys are viewed as super moms and super dads, as all we know. But, with the prevalence of different social media platforms now, the way adults and children talk about school and learning is happening in different digital languages, right? With children growing up on TikTok, TikTok and parents still on, WhatsApp. How do you think this, digital divide affects how families talk about school and education?
I think the most straightforward conversations, and I think a lot of parents will actually see it as a lot of maybe say Gen Alpha lingo that's happening at home right now. So I'll have my children coming home with new phrases, slangs, which I've never heard of before. It makes completely no sense to me. But at the same time, I think for us to really connect with the children, it also means that as parents, we have to remain open and that, not be so quick to dismiss them, but really to hear from them before we discuss what this really means. So I don't think that all parents need to feel the urgency to jump on into TikTok right now or to know, or to be ahead of their children, to come up with the slangs so that they are cool to their kids. Because I don't think a parent's role is to be cool or to know the latest slangs in order to connect. But I believe that it is really the communication, the fact that we are trying to communicate with our children, as well as the values that we are building at home that will really, affect how the relationship is developing.
Right. And has social media or digital content played a role in how Little But Mighty engages with students and parents? Do you guys use digital slang as well?
No, we try to avoid digital slangs because I think ultimately these are habits.
Yeah.
So I do feel that, of course, while teaching English, I think if the children do ask us about it, we do, talk about it, and it's okay to explore. But it also, brings us back to the point of what would be the acceptable kind of language to use during an examination in a formal setting for examination, and to caution them against the use of such language, especially if you get carried away and it becomes a habit. But apart from that, I think in terms of digital platforms and all, definitely we do make use of them. So Little But Mighty has our own Instagram account. We are on TikTok as well. We're still on Facebook. So we do reach out to parents, and the online community, on our website alone, we do still build up the content that way for our parents to support the kids. So I would say all these are the different ways that we engage the children, and, even offering online platforms for learning, because we know that technology is here to stay when it comes to learning. That's how some children really are more, I guess, involved and engaged. So we do want to also make sure that we cater to that area.
And Lily, before we let you go here, how do you see Little But Mighty evolving to meet the needs of future learners and their families? What's next for your business?
I would say to continue to build on our strength, which is really, recognizing that we are able to support parents and children in the way that we break down the learning of English in bite size and with fun strategies. So that's something that I think we want to continue to remain relevant in, so that, like I mentioned, children are confident when they go to school and they are faced with the requirements for assessments. But at the same time, we also want to continue to build on the long-term impact that we have. So our vision has always been, to build a community of learners who are curious and deliberate about the use of English in the world around them. So that is something that we do want to continue, because I think learning itself is supposed to be meaningful. The use of the language is supposed to be meaningful. So it shouldn't really just be confined to the examinations, and it's important for the children to see that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lily, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That was Lily Chu, founder of Little But Mighty. This has been The Right Business with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.